No, that was funny, I got interrupted, but I just looked back at what I said, and that's enough. That's the model. So what I've discovered yesterday is something that science already knows and doesn't tell us, is that in the heartbeat is created from action potential in Z discs. And Z discs, you can imagine a little sack of muscle. And I'll show you, look at my shear force diagrams, and you'll see now, there's the shear force and the rigid body. So there's a sack of muscle, and inside there's a Z disc. And that Z disc is a flat disc with a ring around it and two dimples, one up, one down. It's in the spectrum magnetic resonance, I think, using gallium. Shows what they look like. And so that is the center of bending of the planet, expressed infinitely. This is a nucleus. This is what a nucleus looks like. From the center of the planet, it's slow to an elastic membrane, you get it? And there's the elastic membrane lying flat. Now it has the action potential to become a sphere, hence the sac. So now you see the sac, okay? And a rigid body, the sphere creating the shear force flow patterns around it. But that sphere doesn't happen. It remains as a disc, because that pumping to a flat to a sphere would be wasteful of energy. And reality doesn't waste energy, it simplifies, transforms, looks for the waste heat and uses that as its platform, because that's where it's created its own energy by creating the heat of its own work. And that just goes through a series of transforms until it ends up as the action potential of our heartbeat, which is the regulating pulse of the universe, of human beings. The wave, look at the wave function of the action potential. It's split into two. There's one that goes from 0, and then it goes 1, and then it's 3, 4, and then there's 1 and 2 happens on the other side of the myocardial fold of the heart. The way a heart is constructed, looking at embryology, the creator force is the twisting anti-clockwise force. You see the creator force in action when you see a heart twisting and folding into its functional shape, and it's the twists that create the shear force flow. If you twist a muscle, the shear force flow that's created by those little sacs of the Z discs, which are empty, they're fluid filled, and so it's the fluid that pulses instead, and that fluid is the CSF, the cerebral spinal fluid. It's linked in light. It is plasma. It's a state of matter of light. It exists in us, and so the link is to the moon via the light. So the bending force that holds all this system together is there. So all you're seeing in the myocardial folds, those sacs, those Z discs, wanting to go to spheres but not, is that the tiny pressure that holds that disc flat is enough to resist the massive force of the turn of the universe because of the transforms through which it's gone, of the elastic membrane. And so all that exists is expansion, force, and the elastic membrane of an expanding force. That expanding force has a surface tension, a meniscus creating the sphere. If it remains a sphere, it remains as an expansive force. If it forgets it's a sphere, if it gets to the point where the surface is so flat that the surface thinks it's flat, it's not expanding anymore, and therefore the force can't exist. So the expanding force and its elastic membrane surface exist. That elastic membrane surface has a resistance of the hexagonal matrix and the flower of life pattern, interchange, plus minus, rigid body instant clamping motion. That clamping motion is expressed here in our hearts as the pulse of a fluid of life. So instead of a rigid body being created, down here consciousness is created. The moment of consciousness of the nucleus, of the outer membrane. Picture the outside of our sphere of influence, our universe. I define our universe as our sphere of influence. Okay? And that's, according to Ross, 10 to the 139 times bigger than the dot point. So the dot point can be a tiny bit bigger and it will have a huge impact on the outside. There's that wafty membrane of the windows, the hexagonal or round windows, depending on which way they're pumping in or out, existing, motionless, fixed. And that's Victor Levay, 1906. He shows that there's power there before motion. And he's discovered the power. Victor Levy. And then 1915 closed the door, linking through to the 1993 document issued by the Portland Cement Association, Circular Concrete Tanks Without Pre-Stressing. In engineering right now, standing on that information, on the power of God. Hiding it. Hiding this information from us. Those motherfuckers. And so this is the moment, my friends, all of us who believe in humanity, just have a listen to the words of Christ and say, oh, that's a good idea. That's as a value for a company, a corporation that we're about to form, a cooperative that I'm suggesting we form based on that single value of Christ's greatest commandment. Adding the health and safety. You're the one responsible for your health and safety. Do not endanger the health and safety of others without their consent. And we build a planet where we can be happy. And the point of existence is a culture and worship of our existence. The magic of our existence, when you understand how brilliant it's going to be, it's going to blow you away. The rapture begins when you accept that somebody's telling you the truth, and it's me. And my provenance is the Reynolds number. I've leapt up from Acts 3, 22, 23. I'm now laying Revelations 13, 18 on you. Yeah? The Reynolds number, 666, is the viscosity of blood plasma through the myocardial fold, relatively, associated with the action potential where it's manifested throughout the muscles of the heart. So a single point, it replicates the outside of the universe, you see, inside your heart. The intelligence comes through your heart. You just grow your heart through love. 1892. And it's wonderful. It's all just provable in science, Jews. Provable in science. You're overleapt. Yeah, stand out of the way. Listen to the words of Christ. Listen to what I'm saying. There's our corporation. There's our cooperative. We need you, Jews, to accept that the Christ is saying, he's giving us a good idea. Let's try it. I'm just saying, let's try Christ's way. You accept Christ for a bit. See how it fits. Yeah. Then it's game over. And the future begins. And the Star Trek world, which already exists, we'll just step into it. So be cool. Be ready. You've seen the films. You know how to act. Yeah? All the world's a stage. We're about to level up. And you'll know it. Because you'll remember where you came from. If you anchor this information right now. Yeah? And then imagine that they've made a film of our lives and you're one of the cunts who didn't listen. Imagine that. Gonna take that chance? Okay, that's what's on the table. Follow the Rebel King.